Today we're going to be looking at the relationship between fractions, decimals, and percentages. And the important thing to remember is that you can take one number and represent it in these three ways, and it's still technically the same number, it just looks really different. So if we start with a fraction, say we start with 9/16 like we have up here, we can go ahead and turn that into a decimal by just doing the fraction function, which is really division. That fraction bar tells you that it's 9 divided by 16. So if you want to go ahead and do the long division, or you can plug it into a calculator, that's perfectly fine, that becomes 0.5625. So that means that 9/16 is the same thing as 0.5625. And now if we want to go ahead and represent that as a percent means it's a piece out of 100. So if we were to go ahead and multiply this number by 100, you would essentially be moving the decimal places 2 points to the right, so you end up with 56.25%. Now let's take a look at what happens when we start with a decimal. So if we have 0.14, like I said, if you want to turn that into a percent, you just move the decimal point over 2 spaces. So this becomes 14%. And like we've already talked about, percent means out of 100. So this is also the same thing as 14 over 100. And you can go ahead and simplify that because you want to represent your numbers in the simplest form. So if you divide both the top and the bottom by 2, you get 7 over 50. And finally, we're going to look at what happens when you start with a percent. So if we have 36%, that decimal point is really right there. So if we take it and move it over to this way, then we get 0.36. And also, because it's a percent, we can take this and make 36 over 100. And then if you simplify that by dividing by 4, you get 9 over, ooh, that's a really bad 9. You get 9 over 20. And yeah, that's really what you have. So to sum up, remember that a fraction really represents division, so it's that numerator divided by the number in the denominator. And you can use that division to get to a decimal, and then to go from decimal to percent, you just have to move the decimal point over 2 places to the right. If you want to go from percent to decimal, move the point back over 2 points to the left. And if you want to go from percent to fraction, just take your percent number and put it over 100 and then simplify. So I hope that this all makes sense.